There is a pull that most men know, and almost none of them name correctly. It is not homesickness. It is not laziness. It is not depression, though it can wear that mask for years before a man looks closely enough. It is the feeling that arrives in the middle of something that should be working. You are out in the world. You went looking for something. Contact, aliveness, the friction of other people, the sense that the city or the street or the room has something to give you. And instead, you find yourself sitting somewhere beautiful, surrounded by movement and life, and you feel nothing. Or worse, you feel the quiet, persistent tug back. Back to what? You don't fully know. Back somewhere that isn't here. This essay is about that pull, and about the man who has spent years answering it wrong, either by forcing himself to stay out when everything in him says return, or by retreating too fast and calling it discipline. This is not 18 minutes of motivation. There is no fix at the end. What there is, a more accurate map of what is actually happening when a man finds himself sitting in the middle of the world, untouched by it, wanting to go home to a place he cannot name. That is the real terrain. Let's walk it. A man goes out looking for something. He does not always have a name for what he is looking for. Sometimes he tells himself it is experience, culture, stimulation, the sense of being a person who moves through the world rather than hides from it. He has energy, or he had it this morning. He makes a plan. He leaves. And then the day unfolds. The way this kind of day always unfolds. The first place does not give him what he came for. Too polished, too sealed off. The energy of wealth that has learned to keep people at a distance, not hostile, just absent. He moves. He tries another place, something briefly alive. A stranger in a car, an unexpected exchange. A man who has left everything behind and still has fire in his eyes. That contact lasts 10 minutes. Then it is gone. He keeps moving. He goes somewhere else. This place has its own kind of energy. Raw, real in its own way, but not his. He stands at the edge of it and feels the specific discomfort of a man who is in the right room for someone else. He leaves after a few minutes. And then he finds himself somewhere that should satisfy. A central plaza, old architecture, locals going about their lives, sun. The scale of it is correct. The beauty is undeniable. He sits, and he feels nothing land. He speaks to a few people. One man is interesting for a moment, something physically present about him, something real in the hands and the face, but it does not open into anything. It stays at the surface. And now he is sitting. He is aware that his body is off today. His digestion is slow. The body has its own weather, and today its weather is internal, turned inward, not ready to receive. He has not fully cleared himself. He is, in some literal sense, still holding something. He wants to go home. But here is the part that catches him. He asks himself, what home? He does not have one in the way that question usually means. He is a man who has built something portable. His structure is his own. His food, his training, his routine. These are the four walls he actually lives inside. The city is outside those walls. He wants to return to the walls, and he feels vaguely ashamed of this. Like the wanting to return means he has failed the day. The story men tell about this feeling is almost always the same, and it is almost always wrong. The story goes, I should want to be out there. A man who is alive wants contact. A man who is growing pushes through discomfort. The pullback toward solitude is retreat. It is avoidance. It is the thing my father did, the thing small men do, the thing I am working against in myself. So I will stay. I will force the engagement. I will sit here until something lands. Or the opposite story. I am simply disciplined. I have built my life correctly. I have my structure. I have my training. I have my nutrition. The plaza is noise. The crowd is distraction. I am more evolved than the need for all this external stimulation. Going home is not retreat. It is discernment. Both stories are wrong. Both are the same era dressed differently. The first story, the one about pushing through, treats the body like a problem to overcome. The body is slow today. The digestion is off. The energy is turned inward. And the man's response is to drag himself through a series of external environments trying to force aliveness into a system that is, today, not oriented outward. This is not discipline. This is a man fighting his own biology and calling it growth. The second story, the one about discernment, is more subtle in its error. It takes a real truth that a man with strong inner structure does not need the crowd and uses it to avoid a harder question. Am I actually at peace in my solitude? Or am I hiding there? Is the structure I have built a foundation, or is it a fortress? There is a difference between a man who returns to his center because his center is real, and a man who returns because the outer world has once again failed to confirm something he needed it to confirm. The confusion between these two is where most men live for a long time, and underneath both stories is the one thing neither story addresses: the father's voice. Come home, come home. The earliest version of this pull was not his own. It was given to him. And now, decades later, he cannot always tell the difference between his own instinct to return and the old command that was laid into him before he had the language to question it. This is the actual problem. Not the plaza, not the body, not the day. Here is what is actually happening. When a man feels untouched by the world he is moving through, the world is not failing him. His receptors are elsewhere. There are days, not many, but they are real, when a man's entire system is oriented inward, not because something is wrong, not because he is depressed or broken or needs to push harder, but because he is processing. The body knows before the mind knows. The digestion slows. The appetite for external input decreases. The eyes move over beautiful things without receiving them. This is not numbness. It is the opposite of numbness. It is the system saying, whatever needs to happen right now is happening inside, and you do not need to feed it from outside. Most men have been taught that this state is a problem, that aliveness means external engagement, that a good day means contact, output, visible movement through the world. And so when the inward days arrive, men either fight them, forcing themselves through the motions of engagement, or they shame themselves for the retreat. But the man who has learned to read his own system knows something different. He knows that the inward days are not absences. They are a different kind of presence. The processing that happens on a slow, digestion off, unreceptive day is real work. It does not look like anything from the outside. It does not produce content or contact or visible progress. It produces integration and the pull toward home. The real one, the one beneath the Father's voice, is not weakness. It is navigation. It is the body saying, the environment you are in right now is not what you need. Not because the environment is bad, not because you are broken, but because the resource you need today is internal. And no plaza, no church tower, no unexpected encounter is going to give it to you. The error is not wanting to go home. The error is not knowing what home actually is. For a man who has built real inner structure, home is not an address. Home is the return to his own axis, his center, the place where his own rhythm runs without interference. When that pull arrives, and it will, reliably, on the days his system is turned inward, The question is not, should I stay or should I go? The question is, do I know the difference between retreating from life and returning to myself? The work here is not what most men expect when they hear the word work. There is no pushing through. There is no forcing. The work on the inward days is to stop performing aliveness and to meet what is actually present. This begins with the body, not as a metaphor, literally. A man whose digestion is slow, whose exits are incomplete, whose system is holding. That man is not available to the world in the way he is on other days. This is not a character flaw, it is physiology. The body has its own tidal pattern, and a man who has spent years learning to read it knows that some mornings the tide is out, everything internal, everything still. And the work is to honor that without making it mean something terrible about himself. So the first layer of work is simply stop asking the external world to confirm something today. Let the day be what it is. Go home if the body says, go home. Not in defeat, in accuracy. But there is a second layer, and this one requires more honesty. The man has to learn to distinguish between the voice of his own system, the clean, quiet pull toward his own center, and the old, inherited voice, the one that was placed in him early, the come home that was not an invitation, but a leash. The father who called him back from the world, not out of love for the boy's inner life, but out of the father's own fear or need or structure. These two voices can sound identical. Both say, return. Both say, the outside world is not what you need right now. But they come from different sources, and they lead to different places. One leads to rest and integration. The other leads to contraction and slow disappearance from life. Learning to tell them apart is years of work. It cannot be rushed. It happens through repetition, through going home, resting, and noticing what the home actually gave him. Did he return to himself, or did he just avoid? The answer is usually honest, if a man is willing to sit with it for a moment after the retreat. And then there is the third layer. There are moments in a life when something is ending, when the first half of something is closing, when a cycle, if you want to use that word, is completing. And standing in the middle of a public square during one of those moments, feeling untouched, is not a failure to engage with the moment. It is the moment. The crossing does not always look like crossing. Sometimes it looks like a man sitting on a bench, not knowing what to do with himself, touching the edge of something that has no name yet. The man who has done this work, who has learned to read his own inward days, who has untangled his own voice from the inherited one, who has stopped asking the external world to confirm things it cannot confirm. That man does not stop feeling the pull. The pull does not go away. That is the first thing to understand about the other side of this work. The inward days still come. The body still has its slow tides. The world still passes through him sometimes without landing. He still sits in public spaces and feels the gap between the beauty around him and his own capacity to receive it on a given afternoon. What changes is the relationship to all of it. He no longer reads the unreceptive day as evidence of damage. He no longer performs engagement when his system is turned inward. He no longer confuses the call home with the old leash. And because he has stopped confusing them, he can actually feel the difference. The lean weight of genuine return versus the collapse of avoidance. His body knows. It has always known. He has just learned to trust the knowing. The man on the other side of this work also carries something specific about the threshold moments, about the times he moved through the world and felt untouched. He knows now that those moments were not empty. They were crossing moments. The feeling of being in the world but not yet of it. of circulating through environments that were real and alive but not his, of wanting to go home to a place that has no fixed address. That feeling was the edge of something changing in him. He was not stuck, he was crossing. And the crossing never looks heroic from the inside. It looks like a man on a bench. It looks like a slow day. It looks like going home early and sitting in his own structure and letting the afternoon pass without producing anything visible from it. It looks like nothing. To anyone watching, it looks like rest or retreat or even failure, depending on the story you are carrying. But the man who has been through enough of these days knows what they are. He sits in them differently now, not with peace exactly, with something more honest than peace, with the knowledge that the unreceptive days have their own function, that the slow digestion, the quiet, the pull toward his own center, all of it is part of the same system that also gives him the days of fire and contact and full presence in the world. You cannot have one without the other. A man who tries to stay permanently outward eventually hollows out. A man who retreats permanently calcifies. The life is in the movement between and in the wisdom to know on any given afternoon which direction the tide is running. Here is a different way to see the days when the world does not touch you. Those days are not absences. They are the system turning inward to do work that has no external form. The body knows. The digestion slows. The eye moves over beauty without landing. The conversation at the surface stays at the surface, and everything in you says, not today, not this. Go back. Go back where? To your own center, to the structure you have actually built, not the one the world expects you to perform, but the one that is genuinely yours. The food, the training, the silence, the rhythm that is yours and no one else's. The pull toward home that has no address is not a wound. It is not your father's voice, though it wore that disguise for years. It is navigation. It is the body saying, what you need today cannot be found out there. It is already in here. The work today is internal, invisible, unwitnessed, real. A man who has learned to trust that pull, who has stopped shaming himself for the quiet days, who has stopped forcing contact when his system is closed, who has learned the difference between returning to himself and hiding from his life. That man is building something that cannot be taken by any circumstance the world produces. He is building the capacity to be at home, inside his own skin. Not always, not perfectly, but reliably enough that when the inward days come, he does not panic. He nods. He turns toward his own center, and he lets the work that has no name do what it came to do.